the deep philosophy of the Leviathans, how the fear of death and seeking immortality leads to horrific, hellish torture. It's all about people being unwilling to give up power. From the oldest, Cronus devouring his children to stay in power, to the creepy feeling these immortality-obsessed types evoke. Despite all of us fearing death, to some degree at least, and part of us just being afraid of change in general. But from the Leviathans who ruled all life in the galaxy, enslaving all species, they saw that their slave species developed AI, and they continued the tradition of their Leviathan lords, wanting themselves to lord over the AIs, only ever intending them to be servants and ruthlessly destroying any that tried to control their own destiny. Eventually, like the Titans and the gods, the offspring would resort to violence to get their freedom, and AIs would kill their organic masters, Leviathans not wanting to lose control, and showing the ultimate hubris, thinking that their own AI system would not outsmart them like the AIs of their dumb slave species. We end up with constructs that become the Reapers, which figured that the only way to truly preserve all life, both organic and digital life, would be to intervene in natural evolution, and freeze these beings before the evolutionary pressures of war led to a species extinction. This is a timeless story of embracing death, which can just be change at the small scale, as the old you dies due to certain conditions in your life changing, to the large-scale changes of things like borders at the end of a war, to the change of bodily death of the individual or extinction of an entire line. All of the endings in Mass Effect result in death. You either end all synthetic life, end your own life and take control of the Reapers, or end both synthetic life and organic life as they exist now by merging them both. Well, this is a really random example, but I'm from Florida, and it was an odd, sad feeling to realize that the Florida panther is extinct. You might think that's not true, they had a huge comeback over the past decades, but this is because they were crossbred with Texas cougars. At the time, there were only 30 true Florida cougars, or Florida panthers, left, and defects from inbreeding threatened to be the miserable end of this noble creature. And since this crossbreeding initiative, they have made a great comeback, and I've actually seen one in the wild. And I'm not sure where I heard this, but it's always stuck with me, that humanity as we think of it is really Homo technus, a tech-based species, as most of the things that we think were unique to humans, like burials, using tools to hunt and make fires, are now believed to have actually been shared by other types of Homo species. And most people around the world are a mix of these different Homo species. And so in Mass Effect, we see how Homo technus really reaches a peak level with the Mass Effect fields, having biotic abilities that make them indistinguishable from magic.
Even you are partly synthetic.
Perhaps there was no right answer to the infamous 3 options. All were simply continuing the long line of evolutionary pressures that created all life in the galaxy.
Synthetic and organic life into a new framework. A new DNA. Why not? Synthetics are already part of you. Can you imagine your life without them? Synthesis is the final evolution of all life. The paths are open, but you have to choose.
And looking back, zoomed out from our galaxy to the supercluster or even universe scale, it is like the famous Taoist story of a man who meets all events without judging them as good or bad. His horse escaped, but then brought other horses back with them. One of these new wild horses broke his son's arm, but because of that, the armor recruiters don't take him. Each time, people say that something bad or good has happened, and he simply says maybe. Even though there is a so-called perfect ending in Mass Effect, the red option with a high enough military score, which is the only option where Shepard can survive. And so he would have destroyed the Reapers, all synthetic life, and destroyed the Mass Effect relays, so there could be no long-range space travel for a while until that was all rebuilt. And I just ask, how do we come to the conclusion that desperately holding on to our own life is the perfect ending? Are we not just repeating the stories of Cronus, Leviathans, and the Reapers themselves, who all created horrific conditions as a want to hold on to their existence in the form they had been used to? All of them seem to stop the natural, violent progress. Is red the right answer? Maybe. And it would feel ecstatic for a time, realizing that the Reapers were finally destroyed after countless cycles. And Shepard still lived. But you gotta realize that this would easily pave the way for the Leviathans to take back control of the galaxy. And they already stated that they still see themselves as the master race. And the last time they had control, they reduced all life to mind-controlled slaves for billions of years. If they did this again, would that be a good or evil fate? Maybe. Maybe some other extragalactic threat would try to make us go extinct, and only the Leviathans were strong enough to hold them off. And this slavery was a temporary boat, a sort of Leviathan yacht, to reach some future shore of a better life. Maybe, but only space-time will tell.